Hello, welcome back. My name is Stephanie, and on this channel, I like talking about houseplants. In today's video, I thought I will try something new and start a new series that I think for now I will call like plant hauls. Where are they now? So if you've been following me for a little while, you'd know that I post a lot of plant shopping videos, and not every time, but a lot of times I will actually get new houseplants while I'm plant shopping or plant touring. And about once a month, I will show like one big haul video showing all the plants that I've acquired or plants that are new to me, whether they were gifted or I purchased them for the entire month. So I thought what I will do is a follow-up video. So I'm going to show all the plants from a specific month and give an update, share what I've learned, and some maybe might not be alive anymore. Yeah, sadly. So we're just going to get an update on these plants and see how they're doing. Okay, so the video that I'm going to talk about is from the month, I believe the month of February. We'll start there. The plants from the month of January, that plant haul, it included some of my mom's plants too. So I would need to get over there and give you an update on her plants. So for now, we're going to start on the month of February. And in that video, that was when I really got, in that month, I should say, that's when I really got bitten by the Hoya bug. Like that's when I had this big boom and push for getting new Hoya. So in this video, I'll be talking primarily about Hoya. So I have a few plants to talk about. So I'm just going to get started. The first plant I talk about in that video is the Hoya Mathilde Splash. I'll also put some pictures or some clips that I would have shared in that video. Again, if you'd like some in-depth information as to where I bought these plants, sometimes I mention price, but just a little more information and more pictures of what they looked like at the time, be sure to check out that video. But anyways, here's what that plant looks like now. It is growing well for me. Honestly, it was a bit difficult to propagate in the beginning. I find that Hoya with those very small, delicate vines or the stems, when they're so small, I find them to be a bit tricky to propagate. They rot easily. So for this, what I did is I put it in pond and I kept the water reservoir really high and for a very long time and give it high amounts of light. Sometimes I had it in a prop box, sometimes I did not. And so far so good. It's doing really well. It's been growing steadily for me, but recently it had some new leaves growing here on this tiny little vine and those leaves dropped off. So I think maybe I let the reservoir go a little bit too low. But apart from that, it's doing well. A lot of the leaves are maintaining the splashing on them. There are maybe this one. If you notice, sometimes one leaf will have high amounts of splash and another leaf will not. Let's see, can I show you? There we go. So high amounts of splash and another one not so much. So for these, I think I'll keep them. And the splash is unpredictable. Sometimes I'm thinking, oh, maybe I should just cut it off. Like, look at these two leaves, these green ones here. But then it gives me some new leaves with a little bit more splashing on them. Like this one is almost completely splashy. I hope it's focusing. So yeah, for now, I like it. It's growing really well for me. I have it growing under my grow lights behind me. And so far, so good. It's doing well. Not very fussy once it's started and established, but I do find this plant, for me at least, when I started, I was starting with Hoya. I wasn't quite sure how to treat Hoya, so it was difficult for me, but maybe for someone with experience, well, with more experience than I had at the time, it would have been easier. But for me, it was a little bit tricky. But that's the update. That's where it's at now. It's growing well, and hopefully it'll vine nicely for me. Maybe when it gets longer, I'll put it on a trellis. I don't know yet. But that's the Hoya Mathilde. That's an update. The next plant that I talked about in that video is the one I'm probably the most excited to share today because it surprised me the most. And if you've been following me for a little while, you've seen this plant in a few other videos. But the next one I talked about in that video is this one. I got it at Home Depot and it was riddled with root rot. It it wasn't happy. I was losing it. But anyways, I propagated it. I chopped it up. I put it in spag. I put some in spag. I put some directly into soil, and both propagations rooted easily. I must say this is a very easy one to root. And the name, which I should mention, this is a Hoya. Ayegu. This is a Hoya Lacunosa Silver. That's what I believe it is, a Hoya Lacunosa Silver. And just yesterday, I decided to put it on this gorgeous little DIY trellis. But it's so adorable. I'm in love. I did not know that I would love this plant as much as I do. It is so easy for me. I have it in a self-watering setup. It is one of my few Hoya that's in soil, and it's thriving. I'm hoping that at some point it will bloom for me, because this Hoya is known to bloom very well, but it hasn't done anything yet, but it's happy. It's growing really nicely. I I don't know what else to say. It's super easy to grow, super easy to propagate, and it's just so full. I did put quite a bit in here to get a fuller pot. And I'm sorry, my cats are in a mood today. I'm not sure there's a thunderstorm outside. That's why it's so dark where I'm filming. It's daytime, but there's a storm, so it's really dark. And I'm not sure if the storm is affecting them at all, but they're both really vocal right now. So I apologize. But they seem fine, just very vocal. But yeah, that's this one. I'm thrilled. I'm beyond thrilled at how well this plant is doing, and to think I just found it at Home Depot. Now it's a little bit easier to find. I have been finding it in some other nurseries, but still it's not extremely common as yet. But if you have a chance to get this one, it's really easy once it's established, and it grows beautifully. The silver leaves with the green splashing on it, and it grows so full. And I've noticed once you let it grow upwards, it's going to give you leaves that are more compact with less internodal spacing and bigger leaves as well. I love this. This one right now is the one that makes me the most excited in terms of growth. It's quite satisfying. So that's an update on this one. The next plant that I believe I mentioned in that video is this one, and it looks very similar to the Lacunosa Silver, and that is the Hoya Lacunosa Mint Coin. So I got this one, I think it was just maybe 4 leaves, 2 nodes when I got it. I have a picture. It was so tiny, and it was actually, I don't want to say it was hard to propagate, but I think I messed it up quite a bit. I think I went at it too often. And again, with these sort of very thin vined Hoya, I think you sort of just need to put them down and leave them. Still very resilient. It put up with me and all of my mistakes. So this is where it's at right now. It's restarted, I think, at least 2 or 3 times. I lost a few leaves, but I think for now we are on the up and up. We're doing much better. And recently, maybe a week or 2 ago, I put it on this tiny little DIY trellis, and it seems to like it so far. I really like the mint coin because the leaves are a bit more oval than the Lacunosa, although I think they're both of the Lacunosa family. But yeah, the leaves are a bit rounder. They're a different type of green. I don't know. I can't quite describe what I mean, but I always say it reminds me very much of the silver dollar, like a baby silver dollar. And I have a silver dollar to show you in a minute. But yeah, this plant, it's gorgeous. Silver with green splashes. I have it in a Molly's. No, this is my DIY aeroid mix that most of my plants so far, I'll be honest, I'll be transparent with you, they don't seem to like it. Just a very select few of my plants seem to like my DIY mix. So that's why I'm not sharing it, because I kind of like you. So yeah, but anyways, yeah, so far so good. It seems to be liking it, and it's in just a self-watering pot. But yeah, that's it for now. Nothing much to say. It's not the fastest growing. It's not as fast as the Lacunosa that I just showed you. it definitely takes its time. It takes a little while before the leaves size up and get to their final big size. But apart from that, it's really easygoing. Um, it's resilient as well because it tolerated me. But that's an update on my silver, on my Hoya Lacunosa mint coin. Okay, next, the next few plants are honestly they're on the struggle bus. Like yeah. So I'm going to show you a picture of what this plant looked like when I got it. And this one is the Hoya Weimanie Cloudy Sky. It was gifted to me by Jenna from Jenna's Plants. And I think she was saying like she was just so frustrated with it. And she's like, "Do you want it?" I'm like, "Sure, I'll give it a try and see how just try my best with it." And yeah, I could definitely see why she was frustrated with it. And let me show you what it looks like now. Yeah, it's sort of divided into two plants. Yes, it doesn't look anything like how it looked before. And what is frustrating about this plant? It does nothing. It does nothing. It did nothing for me. It didn't grow. It did nothing. It didn't even lose leaves. Nothing. And I guess not losing leaves is a good thing, but I wanted something. I wanted something to happen. So I just restarted the plant. I chopped it up completely and I put it in, I think, water in a prop box, and it grew the leaves. The roots grew in nicely. It was doing really well. And then I potted it up in soil. Well, not in soil. It's in Molly's aeroid mix. And it did not seem to like that very much. So I lost a few leaves and maybe a few pieces of the cuttings. I'm not sure, maybe I did it too soon. Maybe it was too young, like the propagations were not, it didn't have enough roots, it wasn't rooted enough. So I lost a few leaves, I lost a little bit of it, but two of the cuttings in the mix survived. So I'm going to try to show you here. So this one here with this one leaf is not doing anything yet, but it's still hanging on to that leaf. It does have roots that you can sort of see at the top there, but nothing like nothing else. But if you look at this one here, the second one is pushing out some new growth that I hope my camera will focus on. It's right on the other side of the leaf. So let's see. So right here, just about, you may notice just a tiny little new growth point. I'll try to zoom in, but just something tiny is growing here. Finally, it's doing something. And yeah, this is just like just a tree to catch excess water. But yeah, so far it's doing something, but very slowly, mind you. So, but I'm still figuring it out. I honestly still don't know much more about this plant compared to the beginning, but now it's doing something. So, and then I had another piece that was like losing a lot of leaves in the Molly's arid mix. So I just put it back in water. And since I did that, it started growing some more roots. And I believe it likes that because it also has started pushing out some new growth here. So we have a little new shoot here at the tip where my index finger is. So I'm happy that it's doing something. And that's it for now. We'll see. It looks like it has two little leaves. And is this one or two? No, I think it's just one big cutting in here, one big piece. But I'm glad that I did not lose the plant completely. And I think I'm going to keep it in water at least until I see some secondary roots from these roots here. I'm going to wait till I really get some established roots. And will I put it in pon? It could be that this might prefer pon. I'm not sure because I definitely have some Hoya that seems to enjoy pon more than soil or arid mix. I don't know. I'm still figuring it out. But anyways, that's an update on the cloudy sky. The next one is the one that hurts me the most. It hurts me the most because it's ironic. This is not a plant that I originally wanted. My mom really wanted it. And then when I saw it in person, I was like, wow, I love it. I want one. So I got one, and this has been my most difficult Hoya so far. And it's funny, maybe 3 weeks ago, we were on the up and up, we were doing well, and my overconfidence got the best of me. But that's why you watch this channel, right? I can mess up, so you know what not to do, right? And sadly, the plant that I'm talking about, I'll show you a before picture. I will show you what it looked like a few weeks ago on a picture I posted on Instagram. And I'm going to show you what it looks like now. This is my Hoya Heuchkeliana in a variegated. As you can see, as you would have seen from the picture, I got a very generous cutting from this plant, when I purchased it. But for beginners, this is my most difficult Hoya. I know for some people it's super easy, but it's probably difficult because I haven't figured it out as yet. It is super difficult to root, especially if it's not in a very highly humid environment. I've figured out so far that it needs high humidity to sort of really push out these roots. The watering is hit and miss. Let me tell you what happened. So if you follow me, if you watched my last month's haul, I got another one of these, and I got it in soil. So I had one in soil, and I had one that I got in February that had been growing in pond. And I thought, oh, why not get the one in soil and the one in pond and put them together and get one full lush plant? And that looked great for like 3 days until both plants in there started going through shock. And this plant is not afraid to lose leaves. It just drops the leaves like crazy. I was this close to crying. I was very upset about it. And it's taken me a lot even to talk about it right now because of how upset it made me. So I told my mom, like, I lost it because of how beautiful and lush it was before. I completely lost the plant compared to what it is now. So this is all I have left. So in a panic, I went and I just put it right back into water, and this is where we are right now. So right now it's just surviving. It's just I've sort of managed to take it back from from going downhill and sort of level it out just a little bit, but still I don't think we're out of the woods yet. This is all that's left. I'm sorry. But this is all that's left of this plant. I do have a little bit left of the other one that I bought last month. And so that one is still, I put it into perlite, and it's now rooting in perlite. And I did buy one. If you saw my haul video for my last haul video that I did for the Ontario Plant Show, I did buy another one because I'm determined I will have a lush, beautiful version of this plant. I will. And by the end of the day, I probably would have paid way too much for it, but I hate to think that I lost. I don't want to lose to this plant. I will figure it out. I will. But anyways, that's what's left of that Heuchkeliana that I got in the month of February. This is what's left. And I really admire people who have big, full, lush versions of this plant. I'm just not there yet. I haven't figured it out. It is a troublesome Hoya for me. And with my growing conditions, I don't know if my growing conditions doesn't really suit what this plant prefers. And I think that would be a lot higher humidity. And I don't have that environment right now to give it a dedicated amount of really high humidity. So yeah, like, maybe it just doesn't like my growing conditions. I don't know, but that's an honest update on where I am now with this plant. How's the video going so far? Like what you see? Let me know by hitting the like button down below, and consider subscribing. It's free and it helps you to know when I release a new video. Okay, let's keep going. And the next one I talked about, I will show on the screen. That one is a Hoya Silver Dollar. And this is what it looks like now. I put it on like my DIY trellis, and this is what it looks like now. I think I just got a 2-leaf cutting of it, and the 2 leaves hung in there. This plant for me is not very fast growing, and it hung in there. Those 2 leaves hung in there until when it started getting hot in my house, because now we're going into spring. We turned on the AC and it was sitting very close to the vent, and just the leaf just dropped off. It was just like, nope, bye, and it literally just fell right off. But apart from that, it didn't even turn yellow. It just dropped off. Or it could have been physical damage. Maybe I bumped into it and it broke, and that was it dropping off. I don't know. It could be one of those two things. But anyways, right now, this is where we're at. So I have managed to help it grow 1, 2, 3 leaves. And right now it's in, I don't remember what I had it in before this. It probably was Pon. I actually don't remember, but right now it's in my DIY aeroid potting mix. And I think, I can't remember why I switched it over into this medium, but so far it has not stressed. There are no signs of stress since I did that, and I did that before the leaf dropped off. Right, I think I needed to add the trellis. And when I added the trellis, I realized that it wasn't liking Pon because it was in Pon before. The roots had a little bit of rot. So I decided to put it in this aeroid potting mix. That's right. And I think it's so far so good. Something I've noticed with this plant, the leaves are quite, they're not delicate, but they scar easily. So I tried really hard after butchering this leaf and this one. I tried really hard to not get any physical damage on this leaf. And so that's why it looks a lot prettier than the others. Interestingly, with Hoya, it grew out this vine, pushed out these 2 leaves. These 2 babies fell off. Well, sorry, not these. Yes, these 2, or one of these fell off, and the other one later activated and pushed out this leaf here. But so far, that's all I have on this one. It is on the slower growing side. I'm not sure if it's maybe my lighting or it needs higher humidity. I'm still trying to figure out this plant. I've had it for 4 months, but that's it. That's an update. 3 new leaves, 1 lost leaf, and a longer vine, and that's it. That's all I have. Stay tuned. I'll give you an update later on. But that's where I'm at with the Hoya Silver Dollar. I love this plant. I really do. And I hope that I can figure it out perfectly soon so that I can get a nice full one of it. But that's an update. The next one, I was extremely excited to get it. I'll show you a picture and my facial expression at the time. I was super excited to get this plant, and I'm still really happy to have it, but I'm very surprised at its growth. Let me show you. So this is a Hoya Carnosa Wilbur Graves Russia. I got a beautiful specimen with amazing, whoopsie, dripping, with amazing leaves here. Beautiful, beautiful leaves. I got this Hoya Wilbur Graves Russia 4 months ago, and I got one with beautiful amounts of variegation, as you can see, lovely variegation. And then it pushed out a vine on closer to this leaf, and no variegation on these 3 new leaves, but no variegation, like very little, just speckles on this. So I'm surprised, especially since it's such a highly variegated plant. But again, I do believe that with not variegated, but with splashy Hoya, it really depends on the amount of light it's getting. And I believe when it was growing these leaves, it was in ambient light, still in a south-facing window, but it wasn't under my consistent grow lights. And I think that if it had been, it would have had higher amounts of splash. So Yeah. But anyways, I have noticed that this plant, I believe that it likes higher humidity because since I put it behind me in this little tiny IKEA greenhouse behind me, it started pushing out some new growth, which you may or may not be able to see in the back here. Still very slowly, but it's definitely doing something after doing nothing for a long time. I'm not sure if maybe my expectations are really high because now I think of it, I have had it 4 months and I do have 4 leaves. So maybe my expectations are a bit high for this plant, but yes, it's in my, again, DIY mix, which is questionable at the time, but we have not lost any leaves since it's been in this mix. So yeah, so far so good. But I'm not, I know some people clip off the non-variegated leaves or the non-splashy leaves because it has so few and it took me so long to get this. I'm going to leave it, let it keep pushing out some new leaves, and then from after a while I'll figure out what I want to do. But yeah, that's an update on this one. Okay, so the next plant I'm going to talk about is one of my favorite Hoya because simply for the fact that not only is it gorgeous, it's super easy to grow and it's really satisfying. It looks very similar to the Wilbur Graves Russia, and I'll show you a picture of what it looked like before. And here's what it looks like now. This is a Hoya Carnosa. Oh my goodness, the name, I just had the name and it just left me. Hoya Carnosa Freckles Splash. This was in my recent video on the top 5 or 6 easiest Hoya or Hoya that I would recommend for beginners based on what I have in my collection. Of course, there are a lot of other Hoya out there that might be easier, but based on my collection, this one I highly recommend. It is absolutely so easygoing. It is beautiful in that it's very satisfying. It's not too slow in its growth, not too fast. I've showed you how big it was. So what I did is I cut it in half and I put it in pond. So it's been in pond since I've had it, and it really does like pond. It's definitely one of those thirstier Hoya, I would say. I have to keep this reservoir a bit high, but it's so far so good. A few days ago, I put it on this trellis, so it had some support. If you've been with me for a while, you know that I had Mickey Mouse on a pencil, propped up on a pencil, but he has graduated since then. And so now he's up on this little trellis. So again, my theory on Hoya genetics and light affects the splashing. It's not just the genetics, but I do believe it's affected by the light. We had, when these leaves were emerging, we had a bout of very cloudy days. And definitely these new leaves came out with significantly less splashing compared to the previous leaves, which has way more splashing. Funny enough, I actually really love these leaves. And I think the lower light gives it that darker look, but it gives it a darker, more, I don't know the word, but it's definitely darker than the other leaves. And I love it. I love them for what they are. I really love the darkness of the leaves. And yeah, that's how it looks. It's super easy to grow. It's really satisfying. I definitely, you already know, I won't say too much. I already talked about this plant in a recent video. So check out that video if you want some more details, but absolutely, I recommend it. And it is pushing out some new growth here. So it's doing well. I love this plant. I know I've said that already. But yeah, that's an update on this Carnosa Freckles Splash. Again, for details, check out my Hoya recommendations or Hoya like advice for beginners video. I'll link it. Okay, and the very last plant from that haul, I believe I covered everything, is this one. And I'll show you a picture. It is the Hoya, I can't remember the name, but I'll put it on the screen. I'll definitely put it on the screen. But that plant, it surprised me. A lot of people say that it's fast growing. For me, it hasn't been fast growing. But again, I believe it has to do with my care. But anyways, this is what it looks like now. And I can't remember, I think I only had 4 leaves, and they were like really floppy because they did not completely harden off when I got them. And this is what it looks like now. It is definitely a thirstier Hoya, and I think that's why it hasn't grown as quickly as it could, because I'm not watering it. I'm not keeping the reservoir as high as it would probably like, but I'm very scared of overwatering this plant. That's what it looks like now. It's given me quite a few leaves. It is such a full plant. I love how it grows in such a very full manner. So instead of just vine, 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 one leaf, vine, 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 one leaf, it grows in clusters, and it definitely gives it that fuller look. And I appreciate that really full look that it rocks. It's growing in pond right now. And yeah, with all of my plants, I tend to fertilize them with every single watering. I've noticed an increase in growth when I put it under direct sunlight rather than the grow lights. I notice it grows a lot faster. This plant would probably enjoy a little bit of higher humidity. I'm not sure, but this is the one thing that I'm not giving it apart from more water. I'm suspicious of that, but I'm not 100% sure. I do think it's a sun lover. It definitely loves very bright light. And so recently, maybe yesterday actually, I put it in my south and west facing window in my bathroom, sorry. So hopefully with the higher humidity in my bathroom and with the brighter light from those 2 big windows there, I'm hoping to have faster growth. But anyways, there is an opportunity for it to push some new growth from this node right here. And then it has another node right here. It gives you quite a few leaves from one node, which is awesome. And then at the tip here, you won't be able to see it, but at the tip here, there are some leaves or something's trying to form. It's been doing that for a long time, but it hasn't done anything more than what you've seen here. But so far, so good. I definitely don't think that I have perfected this Hoya as yet. I'm still figuring it out. But that's an update. That's an honest update on how this plant is doing. While editing, I realized that I forgot one plant, and that's the Walliniana. It's another one that hasn't quite worked out how I would have liked. This one, she gave me actually a very generous cutting originally. I will insert a picture, but sadly, I just could not get this plant to root no matter what I did. I couldn't get it to root. But finally, my last attempt seemed to have worked, and I've got it in some just like a soilless aeroid mix. And finally, we have some new growth coming out at the top there, if you can see that. So it's a little bit grainy, but the seller has already replaced this because almost all of it died, and I was pretty sure this one would have died too. And but no, it's finally starting to put out a new leaf. I still don't think we're out of the woods yet, but it's that's what's left of the Walliniana from that haul. And that's it for today's video. That's a genuine and honest update on how these plants have been doing and how they've performed for me so far. And that's what I've learned about them in the time that I've had them. So If you followed me from since then, did any of these plants surprise you? Do you have tips for me on any of these plants? If you have them in your collection, please share them with me. And thank you so much in advance. And I appreciate you watching the video. What I will do is give you a link to that original video. I'll have it right here for you. I'll have 2 other video suggestions for you here, and you can subscribe by clicking right here. Thank you again for watching. I'll see you next time.